Hi, I'm John, and I'm going to do a demo of Madbean's Nautilus. This is a modernized Mutron III envelope filter. It's got a whole bunch of controls here. This switch over here, I've actually labeled the switches backwards from Madbean's build document, but the labels weren't terribly descriptive. This over here is the up-down switch. He calls it a range. It goes from, in the left setting, it goes from the LEDs inside the vactrols being on to turning them off. So it kind of sweeps downward, and then when you switch it over, it turns them from being off to being on. So it kind of sweeps upward. But as you'll hear, it's not really that simple. What the filter does, because sometimes it sounds like it's doing more than one thing at once, and the basic gist of it is when it's in the left position, it goes into this really deep, like, wah sound, and then when it's over here, it does more of a classic filtery, envelope filtery sound. This is the sweep, the pass. This is a low pass on this side, band pass in the middle, and high pass on the right. I'm going to leave it in band pass for now. The high-low switch is just the valve formant, bassier on the left side, treblier on the right. So let's leave it in the bassy side. The peak is more or less the resonant peak of the filter sweep. The sweep control in the middle is kind of a fine tune. You can use it to kind of tighten up the sound in some settings. I'm actually going to put it at 9 o'clock for this setting we're going to start with. And then the gain over here controls the input gain of the effect. If you're using a boost or compressor, you might need to turn down the gain a little bit to keep the filter from just triggering all the time, and you won't get any dynamics if you're doing that. This is my bypass sound. Let's turn on the Nautilus. Again, band pass, range is on the bassier side, sorry, the high-low switch, whatever, and it's going to sweep the LEDs downward, so it's going to turn them off when we play. Sorry, turn them on when we play. So I think that's a nice tight rhythm sound right there in the band pass, and this will work in the low pass too, but it's much louder. And in the high pass, it's going to have more of a kind of lo-fi sound. In fact, you kind of need to keep the sweep from being turned up in the high pass setting when this switch is on the right setting. As you can hear, you get a lot of filter sweep at the beginning, so it's really thin and trebly, and then as it trails off, you start hearing the fundamental sound again. And in this setting, you can also get these weird kind of broken synthy sounds. So on the trebly side of the high-low switch, and if you turn the sweep up, it just sort of turns into this weird meow. It might even be hard to hear without turning the amp up. And that's one of the really cool sounds you can get out of this that you really can't hear in any other normal envelope filter. Certainly not something simple like the Nurse Quacky or something. Let's turn the sweep back down a little bit. Let's go into band pass again, and I'm going to turn the high-low switch into the low setting, so this is going to be nice and bassy, and then we're going to have it so that the LEDs turn off when we play, so you can see the indicator LED, it's on all the time, and then when you play, blinks off and gradually comes back on. So that simulates exactly what's going on inside inside the vactrols inside here that are controlling the sweep. And as you can hear, this is also a much louder setting when it sweeps all the way down. But it does this kind of organy type sound, I guess. It actually reminds me a lot of the sound from Chest Fever by the band. And in fact, when you turn the gain way up, you can really get a lot of distortion, and it's a really full sounding effect. But as you can hear, it's also outrageously loud in that setting. But with the gain in a normal setting, it's a little more controlled. And like I said, this is one of the settings that it really sounds like it's doing multiple things at once sometimes. But as you can hear, when you hit it, it sounds like you went toe down on the wah really quickly and then gradually brought it back up. Whereas in the other position, it sounds like you went toe down and then you bring it back down. And in the low pass, you can get an even bassier sound. So I haven't really gotten into what the peak and sweep controls do. The sweep, like I said, is more of a fine tune. Peak. That was a very low peak. And you can also hear this kind of like feedback thing in the middle of the sweep. It changes depending on where the peak is set. So the peak all the way up. So really, it's a very, very deep pedal. It really rewards experimentation to find some interesting settings, and it's probably way more than I can get into in a short YouTube video. But I mean, for a really basic envelope filter sound, it's really got this sort of interesting character that I can't really get out of anything else. And just a very, very tight rhythmic sound that's very percussive, a little bit more so than anything else. It's just got that really spanky thing in this side on the switch. And that gigantic organ sound I also can't get out of anything else. So I'm really happy I built this. It's kind of destined for my imaginary synth board that's going to have the envelope. It's going to have an envelope filter and like octave effects and stuff like that. Let's turn on the compressor real quick here, because this is going to change how the filter reacts. Bring down the gain just a little bit. I've got it on the highest compression setting, which, if you're a funk guy, that's probably where you're going to keep your compressor. Here it is with the compressor off again. So it's a little less dynamic in how it's handling the rhythmic stuff. So you might want to kind of decide whether you want the Nautilus before or after your gain and compression effects. You can also run a booster into it and basically have it trigger all the time. Or even turn the gain way down so that it only triggers when you've got the boost on. So right now it's just sort of acting as a bandpass, I guess lo-fi type sound. And then if you kick on a boost, it'll actually trigger. I've done things with envelope filters before too, with a volume pedal where for the same effect, where you've got a boost in front of the volume pedal and the envelope filter following that. So when you back off the volume on the volume pedal, it won't trigger, but when you go toe down, it triggers it. So it actually turns the volume pedal into a sort of fake wah sound, which is another nice trick if you want to, if you want both manual wah control and an envelope filter type control on the same board at the same time, without having to use both feet to play with multiple pedals or something. Anyway, like I said, it's a very deep pedal, much more than I can go into in a short YouTube video, and I really highly recommend building this one. It was a very, very comfortable build. Even though it's a fairly large board, it's about this big inside, very easy to wire up. The pots, you can basically do all the pots as board mounted. The switches are board mounted, so it stays in, it's nice and very secure inside. And the drill template was spot on, so that made it a lot easier. So overall, yeah, I really recommend building this one. The vactrols used in it, the original Mutron uses one that you can't get anymore, but when Brian redesigned it, he made it so that it'll accept a couple different vactrols that you can get from, say, Small Bear. That's where I got mine, and I used the slightly cheaper replacements for the VTLC3. I think they were like $6 a piece, which isn't bad anymore. So yeah,